It's my pleasure to welcome you here to the Clark Howard Show. You know, our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you so you make better financial decisions in your life. In today's show, I'm being constantly asked how I feel about what's happening to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I'm going to talk about that straight ahead. And also today, if you've listened for a long time, you know how much I love Costco. We have a dog right now named Kirkland Signature. We had a late dog, one that's passed away, that was named Costco Wholesale. I love that place. But it seems that there's a shift in the marketplace, and there's another store that people love even more than Costco. I'm going to talk about that later. Okay, so the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was the initial primary target attacked by Doge, by Elon Musk, as a part of the federal government that he wanted to destroy. And the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is something I really believe in. I was an advocate of its creation in the aftermath of the banking scandals we're getting closer to it being almost a generation ago. The banking scandals that led to the Great Recession and all the high unemployment and the house foreclosures and all that because banks run amok, breaking the law more than 15 years ago, closing in on 20. And so the Congress chose to put in place the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which gave you as a consumer a place to go to get help if you were having a problem with a bank that was ignoring you, or a credit bureau that had false information about you on your report and they were ignoring you, about various things involved with your and my wallet. And I can understand how the world's richest man, Musk, doesn't understand how important this is to everyday people, because your money, you worked hard for it, and if it vanishes from your bank account or whatever, and you can't get any help from your bank, having a place to turn, consumerfinance.gov, to file a complaint. And it is an organization that a lot of people have really benefited from. But now, if you go to their website, it's almost non-functional. Now, first, I hate that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is at risk of going extinct. Second, there needs to be some procedure, which we've never had before it, where you as a consumer, if you're having a problem with a financial institution, there's some accountability. And you think now how rough this is, because you've got 4 banks in the United States that account for more than half of all banking, and they are so large, they're so powerful, and they're so bureaucratic that they can do pretty much whatever they want. And so you've got, and those 4, if you're not aware, are Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, and Big Bad Wells. And so these financial institutions really can do whatever they wish, and often it's what they don't do. And a lot of times our experience with problems that consumers have had is that it's not so much that the bank is trying to cheat them, it's just it goes into the bureaucratic ether. And so having an ability to file a complaint like you can at consumerfinance.gov, which you still can do. If you go to consumerfinance.gov, the page looks dead, but in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a click you can click on to file a complaint against a financial institution. Before, when the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was not under siege, if there was a pattern of complaints against a particular organization, like the thing that happened with Cash App, where people's money was disappearing on Cash App, and Cash App had no active procedure for a consumer to be reconnected to their money. And so they got fined for it, and they had to agree to start doing right by its customers. Now, what will happen is if you file a complaint at consumerfinance.gov, it will then go to the financial institution, and you hope that they'll do something about it. But in the past, what would happen is they'd look for patterns. And if there were continuous complaints that were same or similar, it might lead to an investigation to see if there were systemic problems at a financial institution mistreating consumers. We're not going to have that, at least for now. And I think that's a shame. So that's my beef, is that this is something that has been very, very useful to my fellow Americans, especially those who don't have a lot of money with an institution. You know, when you are wealthier and you've got a lot of money at a big bank or at a brokerage house or whatever, you have access to completely different resources at that financial institution, completely different level of people, not just calling customer no service. And so wealthier individuals, these things are not problems. But for everyday people who have a problem with money you desperately need to pay your car payment or pay your rent or pay your mortgage, that's where having a cop on the beat has been so useful. And I get it. I mean, you know, if you have how many hundreds of billions of dollars, whatever Musk has, he's not going to get it. He's not going to understand, because he can pick up the phone and talk to the CEO of any financial institution. The rest of us, good luck with that.
All right, let's go to something we can help with. Questions.
Right.
This one came from Ryan in Alaska. A lot of businesses that allow customers to pay for goods and services with a credit card are charging the customers an extra credit card processing fee. You can clearly see this on restaurant checks, contractors doing home repair, auto repair shops, just to name a few. I understand that by accepting credit card payments, the merchants incur processing fees from the credit card companies and are passing those fees on to the customer in a cost-cutting effort. My question is, are these merchants then allowed to claim those same credit card fees that they paid to the credit card companies but were actually paid by the customers as a business expense for tax purposes? My wife runs a sole proprietor business, and every year the credit card processing fees are listed as qualified business expense. Are these merchants double dipping?
That is a great question, and they're not. Because what happens is when a merchant charges you, let's say something was $100, let's say, and they charge you $103, they're reporting revenue on their taxes of $103. $100, and as far as you are concerned as a customer, it was $100 for the service, $3 for the surcharge. When they do their tax return, they're reporting gross revenue, and that would include whatever processing fee. And I can tell you where this is going. I just returned days ago from Australia, and every place you go in Australia, you pay the merchant fee. You tap to pay at a convenience store with a credit card. You pay the cost of the item plus whatever the merchant fee is, and they can only pass on to you their exact cost. The funny thing was, I went to Aldi several times while I was in Australia, and the merchant fee that I was charged, they must be able to negotiate because of their volume, such low fees. One time it was 3 cents, another time it was 11 cents. But every time you buy something with a card there, you pay. At a hotel, you pay your bill, you settle up at the end, and it'll show you. And at many of them, there will be an electronic thing showing you use MasterCard, this is what the fee will be. You use American Express, the fee will be this. Visa, it'll be that. Use a debit card, the fee will be this other thing. And the funny thing is, very few places take cash there. So you're going to pay some kind of fee. It's just a matter of what it is. And I think there's no question, as this practice spreads around the world, that it will become commonplace here in the United States.
So just to be, I'm sorry, I didn't
Go
mean
ahead.
to interrupt you.
Just
I
to be clear.
apologize. Just to be clear, so that what happens is when you were saying the revenue is increased, the merchant reports $103, and then they have a $3 tax credit for the expense. So the income and the expense offset each other, and it's neutral. So that's why it's not double dipping.
See, this is why when I took accounting courses that I was not very good at them, because your explanation was so much better.
I don't know about that. All right.
I accept.
Tony in Georgia says, I'm having an issue with returning an unopened item back to Temu. I've been trying to return it since January 12th. When contacting them, you can only text. They give you several agents that are well-versed in apologizing. I've sent paperwork from my bank that states that they have received their money and should send us a return label, but yet they refuse and don't provide a live human to speak to. They have a 90-day return window and only speak of a chargeback. This purchase was a pressure washer and was over $500 and is still wrapped by my front door. They have no phone number, and my state's Secretary of State has no contact for them.
Okay, so Temu is one of the deep discount Chinese sellers that is controversial with a lot of people. And most of the items they sell are not going to be over $500. A lot are under $10 or $20. Some are even just $1 or so. And customer no service is part of the equation with them. Elliott.org, which gives you alternative ways of contacting an organization, has customer service contacts for Temu that hopefully will be able to get you that return label you need. Go to Elliott.org, look for the Temu customer service contacts, and give that a try as well. Your only other option is going to be to do a chargeback, which is ultimately, you said, what they were talking about, to you and the gibberish of customer no service you were getting from Temu. And while we're at this, I should mention the AliExpress problems that people are having.
Can I just also say January 12th, so it's just about, like, you just 60-day window, but with foreign transactions, don't you really?
So you may or may not, it's up to your credit card issuer if you even have a chargeback right with an international transaction. Okay. AliExpress, which is the original seller of cheap goods from China, there have been a lot of publicized cases where people end up getting nothing. Like one of the things that was in the news recently was somebody ordered an item from from AliExpress, and what they received was a picture of the item instead of the item itself. And so know that it is a pretty crazy environment with these cheap Chinese sellers. And you have to know that with the reward of the very cheap price comes the risk of what might actually show up and what happens when they don't deliver, getting customer satisfaction or service after the fact when a problem has occurred, very, very hard.
Tony in Georgia says, I'm having an issue. I'm sorry, that was Tony in Georgia's question. Jay in Georgia says, Clark, I'm about to buy about $40,000 in plane tickets for a once-in-a-lifetime family trip overseas.
Oh, my goodness, $40,000.
That's a car.
Is that
That's
a
nice
round-the-world trip?
Yeah. What's the best credit card or cards to use for this? I'd like to rack up as many points as I can from this transaction for future travel. I already have a Chase Sapphire Preferred card, and I can use that for a couple of the tickets if it's the right move.
That would not be the right move. The Sapphire Preferred card's a good card, but not for someone who's doing mega travel at mega expense. You want to look at the big three of the travel cards, see who has the best sign-up bonus right now, and who gives you the best reward for booking those airline tickets right now. What are the big three? They're the American Express Platinum card that has a monster annual fee of right at $700. The Chase Sapphire Reserve, which is a huge annual fee, I think of $550 or $595, one or the other. And then the third would be the Capital One Venture X card. Look at each of those. See which one has the best sign-up bonus right now and which one gives you the best times X, 5X or whatever, for buying these $40,000 in airline tickets through the card, and you'll end up with an enormous bonus. I have a friend who signed up for a promotion. There was a limited time promotion on the Capital One Venture X business card that got 500,000 points bonus as an initial sign up for that card. These special promotions come and go, but what you want is you want whatever the best one being offered right now that you can get for this trip. And, going forward, if this is once in a lifetime, as you said, you're never taking a big trip again, then take advantage of that initial sign up, the points you're going to get from the initial purchases that you're going to make for this big trip, and then take other trips with the points, and then cancel that card probably after the second year, unless you get the true travel bug like I've got, and you keep traveling again on an ongoing basis. So if your head's spinning at me talking about spending $400 to $800 in an annual fee on a card, if you get the equivalent of points rewards that are worth many, many, many thousands of dollars, that's why it's especially worth doing as an upfront thing before a giant purchase. Coming up ahead, we're going to talk about how to save money on your purchases and where that's really happening for people and where they're the happiest doing it. I love competition. I just love it. And it's why I'm so much a free enterpriser, why I love capitalism so much, because as you put people in competition with each other, there's such a sense of urgency to improve or go extinct. And I think about how in retail, so many retailers go out of business repeatedly, all the time. Big players, small players. It is the ultimate form of capitalism, because if you're not serving the customer, if you're not adapting to changing tastes, you lose your place in the marketplace. You're going to have the prices right, the service right, the products right, or you're going away. Adapt or die. Who's adapted recently? So in the warehouse club space, which is where I live my life, I'm wearing a Sam's Club private label shirt right now. For those of you who watch the YouTube show, you can see my very high quality $8 shirt I'm wearing. And it's a Members Mark private label from Sam's. And I'm a member of 2 of the 3 warehouse club chains. BJ's Wholesale I'm not a member of, I have been in the past, Sam's and Costco. And Costco has always been king of the hill. But now, according to the American Customer Satisfaction Index, Sam's Club has blown past Costco on customer service. Costco's customer service has not declined. Costco remains at the very top of the heap of all retailers in terms of customer service. But according to the American Customer Satisfaction Index, Sam's never has been close to Costco and now has blown past it and has, I think it's tied for the highest customer service score of any retailer, any size, shape, whatever. And how's Sam's done it? Well, Sam's has always been the redheaded stepchild of Walmart. And there's been a constant revolving door of leadership at Sam's Club, and they've never been able to get their act together, truthfully. The average Costco location sells more than double the dollar volume per year of the average Sam's Club. And it's just because they haven't performed well at Sam's. But they have leadership now that has been so innovative and has really been forward-thinking. And I've mentioned some of the stuff like with the Plus membership, with the free delivery. A lot of Plus members very unhappy. Sam's went to a $50 minimum order for free delivery. But the reality is the delivery service has been great. Costco will deliver, but you pay more for delivery than you do for the same item in the warehouse club. Sam's, you get the convenience of delivery if you pay the Plus membership, and it's been great. I've loved being a Plus member and having the free delivery. But what I love is how with the app with Sam's, you ring yourself up. And because they have 8 million cameras in the warehouse club hooked up to AI, when you go to leave a Sam's, you now, in most cases, don't even have to show a receipt to anybody or anything like that. All the AI knows you're good to go, and you just walk right out of the door. So think about if you're in a warehouse club location on a busy weekend, and you're in a Costco, and the lines for the self-checkout are back way into the store. The lines for cashiers way back in the store. And at Sam's, you just can walk right out the door because you rang yourself up right on your own phone. So that's why Sam's has leapfrogged Costco by improving the overall customer experience. I believe the stores are still more, or as retailers say, they're merchandised better at Costco. The goods they have, to me, are more creative at Costco. But the customer experience at this moment is superior at Sam's Club.
I was just telling someone yesterday, a friend of mine, how I remember years ago, you said somebody asked you if you belonged to any clubs, meaning like country clubs. You pulled out your warehouse membership. You were like, I belonged to 3 clubs at the time, and you pulled out your membership cards. I love it.
Yeah, it's funny because I am a member of 2 private clubs.
You sure
right?
are.
Yeah. Yep,
right.
That's my thing.
Lucas in Washington says, I am 15 and looking for cash-free payment options. I do have a debit card, but thanks to you, I know about the dangers of using it. What payment apps and or types of credit cards make the most sense for teenagers? Thanks for all your work. I'm a 3rd-generation Clark listener.
Well, I love that, Lucas. And, the cash-free payment option, there is a way to potentially make a debit card safer because at 15, that's generally where you're going to end up. You're not going to obtain a traditional credit card unless your parents made you an authorized user on one of those. Is to use Apple Pay or Google Wallet is the only way you use a debit card. It is a safer way. You never want to use, this is a never rule, you never want to use a debit card at pay at the pump at a gas station next year when you start driving and you're having to buy gas, because skimmers have become an even bigger problem than they have been. A skimmer is where criminals put a device on the credit card reader at a gas pump, and they're able by remote now to steal the numbers and information off of a debit card and steal whatever money you have in your account within minutes. And the way you defeat that is something that unfortunately most banks have not gone to, and that's having a chip built into a debit card. If it's a chip reader and you tap the chip reader at the gas pump, then it's okay because that works like Apple Pay or Google Wallet. It's generating a randomized code that is useless to a criminal and bypasses the skimmer.
All right.
Sutton. Is that an okay explanation?
I think
know
that
that's
was great.
hard.
Sutton
And by the way, with a credit card, don't do pay at the pump where you insert it in you want to do tap to pay with your credit card just as you would with the debit card, because even though you're not going to lose money like you would with the debit card, the hassle of a criminal suddenly being able to duplicate your credit card, make charges, you got to dispute them and all that, and get a new card with new numbers and all that, pay at the pump is dangerous.
Sutton in Pennsylvania says, I work for a Fortune 200 company that limits 401k participation to employees earning under $135,000 a year due to past non-discrimination testing issues. Those above that threshold can only contribute to a non-qualified deferred compensation plan with a single bond index fund and mandatory distribution upon leaving.
Oh, boy.
This setup severely limits long-term retirement growth, and I estimate the opportunity cost could be in the $1 million range if I stay for 10 to 15 years. I've been championing changes internally, not just for my own benefit, but also because I see it as a challenge for attracting and retaining talent, but it's not gaining traction. What do you recommend I do to maximize my retirement savings given these restrictions?
All right, so first I should give an explanation if you're not familiar with the backstory on this. So there are companies that the bosses only care about themselves. And they offer a 401k really for the idea of feathering their own nests, and they don't make the plan generous enough to attract enough lower paid employees into the plan. So under federal law, what happens is then people who are at the higher end of the earning scale of that employer are unqualified now to participate in the 401k to try to bring about behavior at a company that will encourage the company to do things to make the plan more attractive to lower earning employees. What would that be? The match, number one thing, where you match money for your employees and get more participation from them. And so it's a carrot to that stick I just talked about so that highly compensated people can also participate. So you're left with something called a non-qualified plan, which I need to emphasize because we've heard from people who've lost the money that was in a non-qualified plan in an employer. Non-qualified means you're not covered by ERISA, the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1960, whatever. Anyway, and so if the employer gets into financial trouble, let's say they're bought by private equity that strips assets and the company goes bust, so does the money you have deferred by putting in the non-qualified plan. So they have much higher, well, they have high risk to them. And the investing choices you have are limited. And you get that full distribution when you leave, creating a maximum taxable event. The alternative for you is to avoid retirement plans if you're not eligible for a Roth, and put in at least what you can put in a Roth. But that's not enough if you're a highly compensated individual. Instead, what you do is you take that money you would have put in the 401k if you were eligible and put it in an investment account in index funds or the equivalent exchange-traded fund. There would be an index like a total stock market index fund, international index fund, maybe a little bond index money. The tax treatment is extremely favorable. You are not limited to selling in retirement only, and your earnings are taxed, but they're taxed at long-term capital gains, which is a much lower tax rate than what you have with tax deferral in a traditional 401k where you don't pay tax up front, but when you spend the money, everything's taxed. The money you put in, because it was never taxed, and all your earnings are taxed at a rate roughly double what you are on capital gains. So you do have a viable alternative just doing a plain vanilla traditional investment account divided out in index funds.
This is from MP in Connecticut. I'm in the process of paying off debt and am researching all ways to cut back on my expenses. My car is a 24 VW, and the dealer at Volkswagen recommends an oil change every 10,000 miles. People that I've spoken to and resources online recommend still getting the oil change every 5,000 miles. I use my car often and typically drive at least more than 20,000 miles in a year.
Wow, that's a lot of driving.
That is a lot. It's a newer car, and I've only had it for a little over a year. What are your thoughts?
So go by the owner's manual, not what people are telling you, not what the dealer is saying. Whatever Volkswagen recommends for your vehicle, follow it exactly. If they say in the owner's manual, 5,000 miles, 7,500 miles, 10,000 miles, do that and keep records of it. If there's ever an issue involving a warranty claim, you want to show that you've done basic maintenance is recommended on the maintenance schedule. Also, in your Volkswagen owner's manual, it's going to tell you exactly what oil they recommend you use for the engine in that vehicle. Maybe a synthetic, may not be. They'll tell you the exact oil, like 10W, whatever, and do that. Remember, document, but follow that schedule, and that will be just fine. And I want to thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. It's great to have you here. Those of you who watch our YouTube show, our YouTube viewer numbers keep going up, 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 and away, and I love that. And yes, those of you who watch on YouTube, this is all I got is a black shirt and khaki pants. That's what I wear every day of the year, right?
Would we call those pants?
The Clarkiform.
Shorts.
Well,
Cargo
I'm in shorts today because it's
but nobody can
warm
see.
today.
Nobody can see, though.
Should I show my
they
legs
could be
so
pants.
that you
No,
should-
you did that once before.
I gross people out by
Not
showing
at
my
all.
legs.
Not at all.
But,
This is rated G, though.
yes. So whether you watch or don't show some more skin. Okay. Whether you watch our YouTube show or you listen to our podcast, you go to Clark.com, you go to ClarkDeals.com, you subscribe to our newsletters, you are in a market where you see me on television or hear me on radio. What am I missing? Social media. However it is that we connect to you, it's all about empowering you with knowledge so that you can save more, spend less, and avoid getting ripped off. And see you next time.